It had been almost a year since David passed away. A sudden stroke had taken him from us without warning, leaving behind silence where laughter used to be. David wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend, my anchor, the steady rhythm to our little family's life. Without him, everything felt offbeat. In the beginning, getting out of bed each morning felt like moving through wet cement. The world kept turning, but mine had stopped. And yet, through all that, there was Adam, my son. At 25, Adam should have been building his own life, career, friends, maybe even a girlfriend, but instead, he turned his focus inward to me. He showed up every day, sometimes with a grocery bag, sometimes with takeout, sometimes with nothing but a smile and a quiet, "Hey, Mom. You doing okay today?" He'd always been a sweet kid, but after David's death, something shifted in him. He became my steady hand when mine trembled, my reminder to eat, to laugh, to breathe. One sunny Saturday morning, I was sipping my coffee, still in my robe, when Adam walked into the kitchen with that lopsided grin that always meant trouble or a surprise. "Morning, Mom," he said, leaning down to kiss my cheek. "You busy?" I gave him a side eye. "That depends." "Why are you smiling like that?" He didn't answer, just tilted his head toward the door. "Come outside for a sec. I've got something to show you." Still half asleep, I followed him to the driveway. The sunlight hit me first, warm and golden, and then I saw it. A brand new convertible gleaming silver in the light. I blinked, then blinked again. "Adam, is that what I think it is?" He nodded clearly, trying not to bounce with excitement. "It's yours." I froze. "What?" "No, no, absolutely not." "That's too much, Mom," he said, cutting me off gently. "You've always wanted one. I remember you showing me pictures when I was a kid. You'd point at cars like this and say, 'Maybe someday.'" He paused, his voice thickening. "Well, someday is today." Tears welled up in my eyes before I could stop them. I stepped forward, running a hand across the hood, feeling the cool metal beneath my fingers like it might wake me from a dream. "I can't believe you did this," I whispered. He smiled softer this time. "You've spent your whole life taking care of everyone else. Let someone take care of you for once." I pulled him into a hug, burying my face in his shoulder. "Thank you, sweetheart. You have no idea what this means to me." That evening, we took the car for a spin top down, wind whipping through our hair, old songs blaring from the radio. We drove past the lake where David and I used to walk on weekends, past the bakery I used to stop at after church. Everywhere we went felt both familiar and brand new, but the best part of the day came long after the sun had set. Back home, the house dark and quiet again, Adam and I sat out on the front porch. The convertible parked in the drive, still catching the glow of the porch light. He looked over at me, his expression suddenly serious. "Mom, I know things haven't been easy, and I can't bring Dad back no matter how much I want to." He swallowed hard, then added, "But I'm here. You're not alone." I met his eyes, and something in my chest cracked. Something I didn't realize I'd been holding so tightly. In that moment, I didn't see a boy anymore. I saw a man who had walked through grief alongside me and come out stronger. "I know," I whispered. "And I don't say it enough, but I'm so proud of the man you've become." His hand found mine, fingers warm and steady. "We're gonna be okay, Mom. I promise." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. The days grew longer as spring melted into summer, and something in the air began to shift, subtle but noticeable. It wasn't just the sunshine or the smell of blooming roses in the yard. It was the way I started to breathe easier, laugh a little louder. Adam had that effect on me. Not through grand gestures, though the car was unforgettable, but through the quiet ways he showed up. It began with breakfast. I woke one morning to the smell of coffee and the soft clatter of pans in the kitchen. Still half asleep, I shuffled down the hallway in my robe, rubbing my eyes. And there he was, Adam standing at the stove in a navy apron I hadn't seen since David used it to grill on Sundays. "Morning, sleepyhead," he called over his shoulder. "Figured you could use a break from cooking." I blinked at the table already set with orange juice, fresh fruit, and a stack of pancakes so perfectly golden I did a double take. "You're spoiling me," I murmured, sitting down slowly. Adam placed a plate in front of me with a wink. "You deserve to be spoiled sometimes. Besides, I Googled a recipe. Took me 3 tries, but these aren't burnt." I smiled, but there was a lump forming in my throat I didn't expect. It wasn't just the pancakes, it was the effort, the thought, the quiet care tucked into the corners of my day. He started doing more after that. Little things, thoughtful things. I'd come home from the store and find the living room vacuumed, the laundry folded. He never mentioned it. Just did it. One day I found him up in the attic. I hadn't stepped foot in there since David died. Too many memories in dusty boxes. Too many pieces of a life I wasn't ready to sift through. But Adam didn't pressure me. He just spent the afternoon organizing things, wiping down bins, making it easier for someday whenever I was ready. "You didn't have to do all that," I said quietly, watching him wipe his dusty hands on his jeans. "I know," he replied, shrugging. "But I wanted to. Thought it might make it less overwhelming when you decide to go through it." I reached out and squeezed his arm. "You're something else, you know," that he gave me a grin. "I try." And he did. He tried in ways that didn't demand attention. Like the flowers. It was a rainy Wednesday when I found a vase of fresh lilies sitting on the dining table. No card, no note, just the flowers. My favorite. "You didn't have to buy those," I said, turning to him in the kitchen. He looked up from the sink a bit sheepish. "I know. But the house felt kind of gray with all this rain. Thought it could use some color." I didn't say anything at first. Just stared at the lilies' rain tapping gently at the windows behind them. David used to bring me flowers for no reason, and now Adam was doing the same. Quietly, unasked, but with a heart so full it nearly broke mine open. "You really do pay attention," I whispered. Adam dried his hands and crossed the room. "Only to the important things." We stood there in the silence, comfortable, warm, wrapped in the scent of lilies and the rhythm of falling rain. And in that moment I realized something. Adam wasn't just taking care of me. He was gently guiding me back to life. It was late June when the power went out. The afternoon had been unusually hot, the kind that made the air feel heavy. By evening, thick clouds rolled in without warning, and the first crack of thunder shook the windows. I stood in the kitchen drying a plate when the lights flickered once, twice, then went completely dark. Adam, I called out into the quiet. "Right here," his voice answered calmly from the hallway. Moments later, he appeared in the doorway, a flashlight in hand. The soft beam danced across the walls, catching his amused grin. "Well," he said, "looks like we're roughing it tonight." I chuckled, setting the towel down. "Just like when you were little. Remember those old blackouts you'd always beg me to play board games by candlelight?" "Oh, I remember," he said with a nostalgic smile. "Especially how you'd always let me win." I raised an eyebrow. "Let you win?" He laughed. "Okay, fine. Maybe once or twice I earned it." We found a few candles tucked away in a drawer and lit them, their warm glow softening the shadows that filled the house. The storm outside picked up, rain lashing against the windows like hurried fingers on glass. But inside, everything felt still, like we were paused in time. Then Adam's eyes lit up with mischief. "Wanna play hide and seek?" he asked. I blinked. "You're not serious." "Oh, I'm very serious. Come on, Mom, for old time's sake." I gave him a mock glare. "I haven't played hide and seek in 20 years. "Exactly." "You're overdue," he said, already counting down with his back to me. 10. 9. Despite myself, I darted into the hallway, flashlight and hand, heart racing with something that felt suspiciously like joy. The house, familiar in daylight, now felt different in the flickering shadows, like stepping into a dream. I crouched behind the living room couch, trying not to giggle like a child. Ready or not, here I come. Adam's voice rang out through the dark, playful and sure. His footsteps echoed gently on the wooden floor. I held my breath, watching the beam of his flashlight sweep past the room. Then, just as I thought I was safe, it paused. Gotcha. The light landed squarely on my face. I groaned, standing up with a grin. You're too good at this. Years of practice, he teased. Your turn. I took the flashlight and began my hunt. He was quick, clever, slipping from room to room like a shadow. I checked the laundry room, the hall closet, even under the stairs. Nothing. Finally, I crept into the guest room and slid open the closet door. There he was, crouched low, looking sheepish but triumphant. Caught you, I said, breathless. He raised his hands in surrender. Okay. Okay. You win. Back in the living room, we collapsed onto the couch, laughing until our sides hurt. The rain softened into a steady rhythm outside, a lullaby tapping gently against the windows. Around us, the candlelight flickered like tiny stars. You're surprisingly good at that, I said, shaking my head. He leaned back, a smile still tugging at his lips. Feels nice. Normal almost. I nodded, feeling the warmth of the moment settle deep in my chest. It does. The room fell quiet, not awkwardly but peacefully, like both of us were soaking in the same memory, the same comfort. Then Adam turned to me, his tone quiet and thoughtful. You know, you've always been incredible. I looked at him, startled. Where's that coming from? He shrugged, eyes on mine. Just watching you these past few months. You keep going even when it hurts. I don't know how you do it. I looked away, the words hitting deeper than expected. I don't feel strong most days, I admitted softly. Some days I feel like I'm just pretending. Adam reached over and took my hand in his. His grip was steady, warm. You don't have to hold it all together by yourself, Mom, he said. I'm here, always. I squeezed his hand, emotion swelling in my throat, too thick to speak. And in that flickering light, with the storm outside slowly fading, I realized just how much we were holding each other together. Two people still grieving, still healing, but no longer alone in it. Something shifted after that stormy night. It was subtle at first, like sunlight breaking gently through heavy clouds. Not dramatic, not sudden, just warmer mornings, easier laughs, a sense that I was beginning to feel like me again in small scattered pieces. Adam was still there always, but I began to see him differently. Not just as my son, the one who used to ask for peanut butter sandwiches without crust, but as a man who moved through the world with empathy and intention. Someone who saw people, who saw me. One evening, he showed up in the doorway with 2 tickets in hand, grinning like a schoolboy. Guess what? I raised an eyebrow. You cleaned out the garage? He laughed. Close. Cooking class. Saturday night. Thought we could try something fun. I blinked. You want to go to a cooking class with me? Sure. Why not? You love trying new recipes. I love eating. It's a win-win. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say no, to stay wrapped in my comfort zone, where everything felt safe and predictable. But something in his eyes, a quiet excitement, tugged at me. Okay, I said. Let's do it. The class was in a small, cozy kitchen studio downtown, the kind with exposed brick fairy lights strung across the ceiling, and an instructor with a thick Brooklyn accent and zero patience for perfection. Within minutes, we were elbow-deep in flour and laughter. Adam was terrible at following instructions. He tossed ingredients into the mixing bowl with reckless flair, measuring by instinct, which unsurprisingly led to a dough that resembled sticky oatmeal more than pasta. When our sauce separated into an oily mess, he stared at it dramatically and declared, "We've created abstract art." I laughed so hard I had to sit down. It felt good. Unfiltered, full-bellied, tear at the corner of your eye kind of laughter. The kind I hadn't felt in a year. The kind I thought I might never feel again. After the class, we stopped for ice cream on the walk back to the car, even though the night was chilly. We shared a single cone like we used to when he was small, one scoop of mint chip, 2 spoons. "I think we might have discovered your new calling," I teased. He looked at me sideways. "Professional chef?" "Professional disaster," I replied, nudging his arm. He grinned. "You know it's been a long time since I saw you smile like that." I paused, spoon halfway to my mouth. "Yeah. It's been a long time since I felt like smiling." He didn't say anything, just leaned in slightly and gave my hand a gentle squeeze as we kept walking. Later that week, I was getting ready for dinner with an old friend I hadn't seen since the funeral. I stood in front of the mirror adjusting a dress I hadn't worn in years, a simple navy wrap that still clung in the right places. I wasn't sure if it still fit who I was anymore, or if I even knew who that was. Just then, Adam passed by the open doorway and stopped mid-step. "Whoa," he said, eyes wide. "You look amazing." I turned, startled. "This old thing." "No, seriously," he said, stepping closer. "You look beautiful, Mom." I felt my cheeks flush, a warmth crawling up my neck. His words, so genuine, landed deeper than I expected. It wasn't about vanity, it was the way he said it. Like he meant it. Like he saw me. "Thank you," I said softly. He nodded, his voice gentle. "I'm proud of you, you know. For getting out. For showing up for life again." That night, as I drove to the restaurant, I carried his words with me like a quiet blessing. And for the first time in a long time, I walked into a room with my head high, not as someone grieving, but as someone rediscovering herself. The following weekend, Adam knocked on my bedroom door just as I was sipping my morning coffee. "Pack a bag," he said. I blinked. For what, he grinned. "It's a surprise. Just overnight. Something I think you'll love." An hour later, we were driving north along winding country roads, the city slowly melting behind us. I leaned back in the passenger seat, wind teasing the ends of my hair, countryside unfolding in every direction. "Where are we going?" I asked for the third time. "You'll see." He said, that same mischievous twinkle in his eyes. When he finally turned off the road and onto a gravel path, I saw it, rows of green vines stretching across soft hills, a white farmhouse nestled at the edge, a vineyard. I felt my heart catch. "I remember you used to love wine tastings," he said, pulling into a small lot. "Thought this might be something fun and different." It was more than fun. It was freeing. We spent the day walking through the vineyard, sipping from glasses we couldn't pronounce, pretending we knew what earthy undertones meant. Adam leaned into it, describing one sample as a bold red that tastes like confidence and regret. I burst out laughing. "That's not even a thing." "Sure it is. You just have to close your eyes and pretend," he said, swirling the glass dramatically. By mid-afternoon, the sky began to darken with low-hanging clouds. A cool breeze picked up, and raindrops soon followed, soft at first, then quick and steady. We ran for shelter, laughing like kids caught in the middle of summer trouble. Inside the cozy guest cottage we'd rented for the night, Adam dug around in the cabinet and found a few candles. The power flickered once, then blinked out entirely. "Déjà vu," he joked, lighting a candle and placing it between us on the small coffee table. The wind rattled the windows and rain tapped like fingertips against the glass, but the room, warm and golden in candlelight, felt suspended from time. We curled up on the couch, a blanket draped across both our legs. I hadn't realized how close we were sitting until his arm brushed mine and neither of us moved. "Feels like the storm chased us here," I said softly. "Or brought us?" he replied. There was something in his voice gentler than before, steady, deep. We sat in silence, watching the candle flame flicker. Then he reached for the remote. "Let's watch something. There's no power." He grinned. "DVD player, battery-powered, old school." He found a classic romance I hadn't seen in years and popped it in. As the music swelled and familiar lines played, something in my chest ached, not with pain, but with memory, with longing. Halfway through, I noticed the space between us had disappeared. Adam's arm slipped gently around my shoulders, warm and slow, like he wasn't sure if it was okay. "Is this all right?" he asked, voice low. I hesitated for a heartbeat, but only a heartbeat, before nodding. "Yes, it's nice." And it was. There was nothing rushed, nothing spoken. Just the weight of his arm, the quiet of the room, and the soft glow of candlelight dancing across the walls. It reminded me of David's hugs from years ago, protective grounding. But this was different. It felt current, present, alive. Adam didn't say much, just sat with me, letting the warmth between us speak where words couldn't. "You know what's funny?" he said quietly as the movie rolled into its final act. "You remind me of her." "Who, the main character?" He nodded toward the screen. "She's strong. Quietly. The kind people don't realize until they really look." "That's you." His words settled like a warm hand on my chest. I turned to him, my voice soft. "You see so much more than I think I show." He met my gaze. "That's because I know you. I always have." And for a long time after the credits rolled, we just sat there in the quiet, neither of us moving, wrapped in candlelight, wrapped in something unspoken. The storm passed sometime before dawn. I woke to a quiet stillness, the kind that feels sacred. Soft gray light filtering through gauzy curtains, the faint scent of rain clinging to the windows. Adam was still asleep on the couch beside me, one arm draped loosely across his chest, the other curled beneath his head. His chest rose and fell in a slow, peaceful rhythm. For a moment, I just watched him. How had we gotten here? From the first dark days after David's death, to laughter in the kitchen, to wine in the countryside, to this moment. Quiet, warm, intimate in a way that wasn't just about comfort, but something deeper. Something neither of us had dared to name. I stood and walked to the kitchenette, boiling water for tea. The kettle hissed gently as Adam stirred awake behind me. Morning already," he said, voice gravelly with sleep. "Barely," I replied, smiling as I handed him a mug. "But I figured we'd watch the sunrise." He took it, our fingers brushing, and for a brief second he held the contact long enough for my breath to catch. Outside, the clouds were beginning to break, soft gold leaking through. We stepped onto the porch, wrapped in the shared blanket from the night before, our shoulders pressed together. Adam spoke first, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've been thinking a lot lately." I turned slightly toward him. About what he looked out across the vineyard, eyes distant but clear. About you. About us. How much has changed. How close we've become. I don't know if this is normal or even right by the world's standards, but nothing about it feels wrong. I froze. His words weren't loud, but they thundered through me, reverberating in places I hadn't touched in years. "I think about Dad," he continued, "all the time, and I miss him. You do too. But somehow through all of that, we found this space, this thing, and it feels safe. It feels like home." Tears welled in my eyes before I could stop them. "Adam." I breathed, unsure what to say. "You don't have to say anything," he said gently, his voice steady. "I just needed you to know. You're everything to me. And it's not just because you're my mom. It's because you see me. You know me. And I've never felt more understood in my life." Silence hung between us, not heavy but full. Charged. I turned to face him, fully searching his eyes. What I saw there wasn't confusion. It wasn't misplaced affection. It was clarity, depth, something carved through months of lost kindness and quiet devotion. "You've brought me back to life," I whispered. His hand found mine again like it had so many times, but this time it lingered, holding gently, deliberately. "You did the same for me," he said. And then slowly, as if the world had stilled just for us, Adam leaned in and kissed my cheek. Soft, reverent. His lips barely brushed the skin near my temple, but it carried weight. Not just affection, a vow. When I opened my eyes, his gaze met mine, not questioning, not pushing, just there. Steady. Sure. I rested my head on his shoulder. We stayed like that as the sun rose above the vines, the first light painting everything in gold. There were no more words, just warmth, breath. Two people bound not just by blood, but by something that had grown quietly in the silence of shared grief. Something that didn't ask to be understood, only held.